The first light of dawn crept over the islands like a blade of gold slicing through the humid Pacific haze, and Lieutenant David "Rooster" Alden stood ankle-deep in the warm sand of the airstrip, staring at the distant horizon as if he could see tomorrow hidden somewhere behind it. The night storms had passed only an hour earlier, leaving the runway glistening and the air heavy with the earthy scent of wet palm fronds and diesel fuel. Around him, the ground crews shuffled in wearied silence, their silhouettes outlined by the glow of lanterns swinging gently in the warm breeze. David rubbed at the tired burn in his eyes and tried to steady the rhythm of his breathing. Today's mission would take them deep past Rabaul, too deep, some said, but High Command needed photographs, proof that the Japanese fleet had shifted south, and the only aircraft fast enough to slip in and out alive were the P-38 Lightnings of the 339th Fighter Squadron.
We're holding steady on course,
David rested a hand on the cool metal nose of his P-38. The twin boom plane crouched like a predatory beast waiting to pounce.
Pressure on engine 3.
He whispered under his breath, barely audible even to himself, "Take care of me, girl. I'll take care of you." His father had once told him that all good pilots talked to their aircraft. It was the only companion that understood both their fears and their pride. David didn't know if he believed that anymore, but he kept the ritual. Rituals kept the darkness from closing in. "Rooster," a familiar voice called from behind him. David turned to see Sergeant Theo Lively, his best friend since basic training, emerging from the shadows with a half-smirk and a cigarette tucked behind one ear. Theo looked exhausted, his brown hair plastered from the humidity, his flight suit unzipped halfway to cool the sweat clinging to his chest.
It's all right, you're safe with us.
"You look like you haven't slept in a week,"
Vitals look
Theo
stable,
said.
but
"I've
we're running low on
slept,
supplies
just
over
not
here."
well," David replied. Theo snorted. "Didn't think so. Not after yesterday's briefing. I've seen funeral sermons with more optimism." But Theo's grin softened as he approached, his hand gripping David's shoulder with quiet strength. "We'll make it back," he said. "We always do." David nodded, but he didn't say what he wanted to. That surviving felt less like destiny and more like luck, and luck always ran out eventually. Instead, he climbed into the cockpit, strapped himself down, and took a long, steady breath. The twin engines roared awake beneath him, vibrating through his bones in a way that always reminded him of the beating of wings. The squadron took off, their silhouettes slicing through the thick morning haze as they climbed into a sky still bruised from the night storm. The ocean below glittered, deceptively calm, a vast mirror reflecting streaks of sunlight. As they approached the Solomon Islands, the clouds thickened into rolling gray banks with jagged edges that looked almost unnatural. David leveled his P-38 beside Theo's, and the two exchanged a silent glance, an agreement forged over countless missions: stay alive, stay together, no matter what. They flew low, skimming above the clouds to avoid detection, the only sound the steady thrum of engines and the faint crackle of intermittent radio buzz. David's thoughts wandered, despite his attempts to keep them sharp. He thought of his sister back home, writing letters filled with a cheerfulness he suspected she faked for his sake. He thought of their small Ohio farm, the cornfield stretching toward the horizon, the world so impossibly peaceful in his memory that it felt unreal compared to the claustrophobic weight of war. And beneath it all, he felt the familiar ache, the fear of becoming someone he wouldn't recognize by the time he returned. The first sign of trouble came as a faint shimmer in the sky, barely visible against the brightening sunlight. At first, David thought it was glare, but then the shimmer multiplied, spreading like a flock taking shape. "Contacts. High, 2 o'clock, he whispered into his mic, his voice tightening. The squadron leader responded immediately, ordering defensive positioning. The shimmer grew, sharpening into dozens of aircraft diving out of the sun, Zeros, sleek and deadly, making no effort to hide their approach. The attack struck like lightning. The sky erupted with tracers, flashes of orange and white streaking past the P-38s as they broke formation to avoid the deadly descent of Japanese fighters. David rolled sharply left, feeling the G-forces claw at his ribs as a Zero screamed past him, its machine guns carving sparks along his wingtip. He steadied the aircraft and swung around, firing, his twin machine guns spitting hot fury into the empty sky. The Zero dodged, vanished into the clouds, then reappeared behind him. David dove, pulling his Lightning into a steep drop that pressed his stomach into his throat. "Rooster, behind you," Theo shouted. David twisted the P-38 sharply, and Theo's guns lit up the sky, catching the Zero full across its engine. The Japanese fighter burst in a flash of fire and metal fragments that scattered like embers. "You owe me one," Theo said breathlessly. "Put it on my tab," David replied, though the words trembled slightly. The battle intensified. More Zeros poured in from the clouds, each wave more aggressive than the last. The squadron tried to hold together, but the enemy pressed them hard, severing their formation. David fired at anything that moved, the air shaking with the roar of engines and the guttural stutter of machine guns. A P-38 ahead of me took a burst to the cockpit canopy and spiraled down into the jungle below. Another vanished in a fireball so bright it seared David's vision for a moment. Then he heard it, the strained gasp over the radio. "Theo. Rooster. Hit. Right engine's gone. Controls. Damn it." David's heart dropped. He scanned the sky frantically and spotted Theo's Lightning tumbling, trailing smoke like a wounded animal trying to stay aloft. David broke away from his pursuit and dove after him. "Theo, level it out! You can do it!" Theo fought the yoke, wrestled against the dying engine, but the aircraft wobbled violently, losing altitude too fast. "I'm trying," he shouted, panic edging into his voice in a way David had never heard. The jungle canopy rushed toward them. David flew dangerously low, matching Theo's descent, shouting instructions through the radio, willing his friend to hold on. At the last second, Theo pulled the aircraft up, just enough to avoid a fatal impact. The P-38 skidded through the tree line, wings cracking off as it tore across the forest floor in a shower of splintered wood and flying debris. When it finally ground to a halt, smoke curling from its ruined nose, David circled overhead, breath shaking, vision blurred with tears. "Theo, talk to me." There was silence for an agonizing second, then a faint voice.
"More bags over
"Still here. Barely." Relief washed over David so fiercely he thought it might break him completely. Fuel running low, enemy fighters regrouping in the distance, David had no choice. He had to turn back. "I'll get them to send rescue," he said, voice firm even though his insides felt hollow. "Just stay hidden. Stay alive." Theo whispered back,
You said it.
"I always follow your
dragon
lead, Rooster.
always delivers."
Don't make me regret it." The flight home was a fragile, agonizing thing. Every shadow in the sky looked like another Zero waiting to strike. Every tremor in the engine made David fear he wouldn't make it back. But somehow, miraculously, the island runway came into view through the haze, and the P-38's wheels touched down with a shudder of finality. David didn't climb out immediately. He sat there, staring at the canopy glass blurred with sweat and tears, feeling the immense weight of helplessness pressing against his chest. When he finally stepped onto solid ground, the world felt unsteady beneath him. Night fell slowly, cloaking the island in soft darkness. David found himself standing alone on the airstrip again, staring into the jungle-lit horizon where Theo had gone down. Rescue teams would search at first light. It was all he could cling to. A breeze brushed his cheek, warm and gentle, carrying the distant sound of waves, the echo of gunfire fading into memory. David whispered into the night, "Hold on, Theo. I'm not leaving you behind." And under the vast Pacific sky, heavy with storm clouds and stars, he believed for the first time in months that hope could survive the shadows.